Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the world you are streaming. You're on our Twitter as well as YouTube. Figure I'd do this from outside today. What do you guys think? Nice day out. Got some acid. Let's see how the microphone sounds. More importantly, how the microphone sounds. Terrible. So we're going to take that out. Hold on. Okay. Well, that was a complete failure. Let's see how this sounds. Heaven forbid I try and use this. At least StreamYard told me soon enough that it wasn't going to work. Let's see how this sounds. Heaven forbid I try and use this. At least StreamYard told me soon enough. Okay, we fixed the audio. What's happening, good people? Okay, well, I guess I don't need to use this anymore, so I'm going to get rid of this microphone. StreamYard does not like Shure microphones, that's for sure. That is for sure. Let me I'm going to change this up a little bit so I can see. And now that I can use the microphone speakers, okay. That was a good idea. It was a good idea in spirit. So I can put this here. Probably should have came prepared. Give me a second. Okay. Now I can see everybody. All right. We'll do it live. What's happening, people? Coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. Gorgeous day here. I got the chat up in front of me. We were off Wednesday. It is gorgeous. It's like high 60s. What's happening, people? It's high 60s, perfect tennis weather, a little overcast, getting the atmospheric river from Los Angeles, but a good time to get away. Hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday. We are here leading up to tonight's 9-game slate in the association. We got some news coming in from the 76ers, amongst other teams. So if anything happens, we'll be the first to hit it. As always, what's up, Helwick? Yes, this is my Vegas establishment here on once. So this is this is Lake Las Vegas. Yeah, this is Lake Las Vegas, and behind me, can't see it. This is Lake Mead. So I'm pretty much on the outskirts of the city out here, but it is quite nice. All right, what's up? Shay says Morant and Embiid both still questionable. Yes. After Embiid went down in that game on Friday, I thought it was over. I thought it was over for good. The way he was down, buckling, holding that knee like that. And then he gets back up and comes back into the game. It's almost a detriment to the 76ers when he does that, because now Maxi's, if Embiid's on the floor, he needs the ball in his hands. And watching Maxi have to, in a way, cater to Embiid, it is lowering their ceiling, man, because they need to move on from this. Embiid was an MVP. That knee just prevents him from ever reaching that ceiling, and it's hard to watch. And he went out there he came back out onto the floor after that game to prove, like, I'm tough, I still got it, no, I'm good. And I'm sure he was. But his production level, especially during an injury, is just brutal, man. John Morant's due back as well. I'm at the point now where I think more of John Morant's shoes than I do his actual play. Hey, he's still a fine player, but he is so, like, they don't miss him at all when he's gone. He's got the leap ability, he's got the verticality, he's got the show-stopping dunks, but I'm kind of over him and Zion at this point. Zion off the bench, by the way, has been a thing. He's been playing between 21 and 26-ish minutes, coming off the bench, scoring 20-plus points every single night. He's averaging a point per minute since James Borrego's had him off the bench, and he's just been stampeding these second units. They look like peasants compared to him out there. And then he just runs rampant before the starters come back in. It seemed to have been working as the Pelicans have been winning games. I wonder what, bear with me here. Bear with me, chat. Let me see what Pelicans. Oh, sneaky rivalry game, by the way. Do you remember, speaking of Zion, back when this used to be a thing and the Suns got mad at him for doing a 360 windmill? Helwick, you'll remember this. Doing a 360 windmill at the buzzer, over under of 19.5 for Zion. That's a little low, man. That's a little low. What's with this juice, Prophet X? Wait, Prophet X, what are we doing here? Minus 124, minus 132. That does not make sense. That's like your competition's lines. Let's get that back to plus 124, please. I think that's what it's meant to be. Anyway. Coach Mike is asking, what was my Christmas dinner? Lobster, crab cakes, stuffed clams, couscous. Anything else? Some Christmas cookies for dessert. Quite delicious. Maxey was so differential, says Shay. It's just when Maxey's out there with Paul George, when he's out there with VJ Edgecombe, those splits versus when he's overlapping with Embiid, because you turn Maxey into an off-the-ball guy. Maxey is too good to not be running every possession with him spearheading the offense. Just got an update from Tomas Isalo. Ja Morant predicted to be in the lineup, on track to play with Cedric Coward tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies. It's kind of a light slate, nothing really that gorgeous to look at. But if Ja Morant's coming back, you have to imagine it's going to be on some form of a minutes restriction, sitting at 17.5 right now. Not a lot of liquidity on here, Prophet X. I got $3 total coming in. Maybe it's a different number, 14.5. No, okay. Spurs, Thunder, and Nuggets, Wolves must be Christmas staples for the rest of the 2020s, says Helwick. Interesting. So, Wolves, Nuggets is such a fun little rivalry now because the foundation of it is built off of purely good hoops. There is no animosity. I remember after the double overtime game last year, which was easily the game of the season, Anthony Edwards went into the locker room. He's like, man, that is the best player I have ever gone up against in Nikola Jokic. Even Ant wasn't in the mood to be talking shit. And then last night, he's messing with him at the free throw line. He ends up getting teed up and ejected. Jokic is baiting him into one of those weird rule book quirks that he likes to set traps for. You know, he's always getting the referees, no, I was shooting it. No, I was inbounding the ball and there was a delay of game. He likes to walk the dog a lot, you know, all these things. And then he got Ant to bite on one of them last night. And it's just it's always close. The games are always tight and they're on the biggest stages because they had the playoff series. They had the playoff series that wins 7 games. That was epic. The double overtime game from the regular season last year. Christmas night. Every time they play, it's high quality hoops. High quality hoops. And real quick, because I saw this last night and I wanted to discuss it a little bit, elaborate on it. If you listened to the show earlier today, I apologize for repeating myself. But it's moments like this that make me be able to justify having to pay attention to every single dribble of every single game. Like, I didn't play in the NBA. I can't use that as a basis to create content and build a reputable voice, right? So it's more just paying attention a lot and understanding the game and remembering moments, what happened at the end of regulation. So for those of you that saw it, I'm going to give me a second. I'm going to scroll up so I don't miss any of your guys' comments, and then I'll catch up. But let me just deliver this point really quickly. So at the end of regulation, the Timberwolves call a timeout. Chris Finch draws up a play to get Anthony Edwards the basketball where he's coming off of a pin down screen and he slashes through the free throw line extended. But en route to the corner, he stops slightly, not full stop, but slows down, posts up Jamal Murray, and then uses his momentum to continue to gather step into the corner and then elevate in a way that he wasn't fading or falling away. It was straight vertical, which enabled him to shoot over the top of Jamal Murray. It was the slightest of hesitations, which prevented, because if he just runs on a straight line, think of all the things that can go wrong. Inaccurate pass, he fumbles the ball out of bounds, or it's a completed pass and his momentum is carrying him away from the floor, going to the right shoulder fadeaway, which is the awkward side. And then you have to hit a ridiculous shot going into the bench. But he stopped. He was able to go vertical, and it was so clinical in the way that he was able to fundamentally square himself to the actual basket. This was not a mistake, because during the double overtime game from last season, do you guys remember the end of regulation in the end of overtime? Him, Anthony Edwards, and Chris Finch get into a I don't want to say verbal altercation. Let's say a heated exchange that looked like it was purely about basketball. And Anthony Edwards, after the game, kind of confirmed that he was directing Chris Finch, stop inbounding the ball to me near the half court line, because it is permitting the Denver Nuggets to be able to send a double team to get the ball out of my hands. So stop drawing up your ATOs where I'm getting the ball over here. Do it for me towards the corner. So eventually, Chris Finch did that. The problem is the Denver Nuggets knew that was coming and they telegraphed it, so they were able still to trap him, and he was all sorts of flustered. And if there's anything that Anthony Edwards said he needed to work on this offseason, previously it was three-point shots in volume. He fixed that. This season, it was navigating double teams. So to see Chris Finch draw up that play in almost the same exact spot on the same exact floors last season, to get him open and afford him the opportunity to get up a legitimate shot where he felt comfortable, and probably something he practiced, that was such a notable improvement from how they ended up losing that double overtime game just last year. Now, of course, Westbrook did some stupid shit, but whatever. They won that game. I'm sorry, they didn't lose that game because of Westbrook. They ended up, the Wolves ended up winning that game in double overtime, if I'm not mistaken. And that was the 61-point Jokic triple-double. Sorry, a lot to remember. But my point still remains that Anthony Edwards needed the ball in a proper spot so that Jamal Murray, up by 3, could not foul when Anthony Edwards was receiving the inbounds pass with his back to the basket. And because he was carrying that momentum downhill, I don't feel like Jamal felt like, you know what, I can reach in there and foul, because he was always moving despite the slight hesitation. It was beautiful, because you know the Nuggets were in that huddle saying, if someone turns their back to the rim, foul right away. That was very noticeable, and considering the context of what happened the year before, little things like that can make basketball interesting. That's all. I was on the verge of doing a WAP investigation on it, but I didn't want to. It was going to take a lot of time to do something that ultimately ended in a loss, and whatever. It's Christmas. Tweet Forever is asking, what a view. Where is this? We are in Las Vegas, Nevada. Say hello to Lake Las Vegas, right below me. And Spurs Thunder, of course. Chet Holmgren getting bodied by Wembanyama and that Spurs team. Okay. What else you guys got? Let me see. Let me catch up on these comments. Speaking of your clubhouse leaders, you realize your sixth man of the year pick, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, has started 24 of 29 games. Right, but he's going back to the bench now that Trey's here. All you have to do is come off the bench for one game more than you start. So he should be able to clear 24 as long as Trae Young is back in the lineup easily. He'll be back in legal consideration for sixth man of the year. 18 overtime points for Joker, the most in NBA history, says Shay. So Gilbert Arenas had the regular season record at 16. Steph has the postseason record at 17, and then Jokic 18, and they didn't score a single point until almost 3 minutes into overtime, and they finished with 27 points. That's how many free throws they took at the very end. 27 points in about 3 minutes. This is the same week the Cleveland Cavaliers scored 0 points in overtime against the Charlotte Hornets. It's always something different. Wyatt says, animosity from the ending of Game 7 with the Wolves trying to clown the Nuggets. Yeah, but that was built off of competition and two teams respecting each other, in my opinion. This isn't Dylan Brooks versus LeBron type of hate. What's up, Haji? Says, hello, Rob. Great to finally see you here live again. How am I? Oh, I'm doing great. I thought there was going to be more to that question. I just finished playing a little tennis. It's nice out. Sitting outside. Get ready to watch some hoops. Nice Christmas with the family. Can't complain. NFL games were trash yesterday. Here's the problem with the NFL is they're starting to pull an NBA in that they understand their product is incredibly popular, and they're going to start trying to imperialize every day of the week so that there's always football on. But one of the biggest issues that the NBA ran into is they started to dilute their product, right? We keep the 82 games going. We add the cup. We got all these different things that you need to pay attention to. And it starts to make the bigger regular season games feel a little bit less important, right? So if you start running football games on Thursday, on Friday, and then you got to download 9 different streaming networks, people are just this is viewer consumption habits. People are just going to stop caring. Like, you know what? I don't want to keep downloading these apps. I'll catch the highlights. I'll read about it the next day. I'll listen to the radio, but I don't care enough for you to keep chasing you around the internet like this. So when you continue to monetize, now creators, myself, I've jumped around God knows how many different platforms throughout the year. So I don't want to make this sound hypocritical, but they are definitely capitalizing, pun intended, capitalizing on their success thus far. And if you're forcing people to watch a Netflix game on a random ass Wednesday night with a bunch of teams who suck the ratings and the things that are important to providing the context of what people value is going to get naturally diluted. Let's see. Sorry, a lot of comments for me to catch up on. The Wolves won by a Westbrook foul at the buzzer. Right. Wasn't that was Westbrook? Was it Nickeil Alexander-Walker? I think it was that made those free throws, or Jaden McDaniels or something. That was, yeah, Westbrook fucked up that game. What else? I think the Spurs' guards' finishing ability is the antidote to OKC's backcourt defense. Having 2 of Fox, Castle, and Harper on the floor once, or 2 on the Harper on the floor at once changes so much. Comment there from Steve. So your hypothesis there is in line with Antonio's. He also concurs that the Spurs having 3 options, running 2 concurrently pretty much throughout a game, because when Fox comes off, you can put Harper on, and then it's Harper and Steph Castle, then it's Steph Castle and Fox, and then it's Fox and Harper, plus Vassell, plus your floor stretching guys in Barnes and Julian Champagnie. He feels as though having guys that can actually beat OKC's point of attack defenders off the dribble is something that they can do versus other teams simply cannot. They have more talented ball handlers and creators. That's a fair assessment, right? But I go further than that. That the San Antonio Spurs and the Denver Nuggets are the only 2 teams that have proven thus far that they can have an entity on their roster that forces the vaunted, historic Oklahoma City defense to pivot their business model of success. Why would they ever run something different when they force the amount of turnovers that they do. When they force those turnovers, live ball turnovers are a guaranteed 2 points going the other way. OKC's best offense, despite Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's brilliance, has always been live ball turnovers, which lead to free throws and layups within a couple of seconds. Meanwhile, your team is having to play hero ball against a entrenched Oklahoma City defense that can switch positions 1 through 5. Good luck. That's why they're so successful in reigning champions, right? But go back and look at the last 2 games that the Spurs have played against OKC versus the OKC average. 12 turnovers, 8 turnovers. That's it for San Antonio. Not a lot, especially in an NBA where the possessions are 100 plus, 110 per game. They're only turning the ball over 8, 12, 10 times in their last 3 games, and OKC is not being able to score as many points as they are accustomed to. So that puts a lot more pressure on Shai to go out there and be that superhero. The result of which has made this team look very mortal, more mortal than we've seen in quite some time. Number 2, or I'm sorry, let me go back to the first point and just say Nikola Jokic was being fronted by Alex Caruso this season as well as during last year's playoffs. It was a 3-quarter front by design so that Nikola Jokic had to receive the entry pass in the corner. That was the whole design of it. They didn't expect Alex Caruso to put his hands up and say, go out there and just defend this man. You're on your own. No, 3/4 front. We're going to deny every angle of the entry pass, but we will permit it to go to the corner. And that's where we want Nikola Jokic to start initiating his offense. I guess in theory it worked, even though the series went to 7 games. Now, we've seen J-Dub this year. J-Dub has been the one responsible, especially in the game in Las Vegas, of 3/4 fronting Victor Wembanyama to similar type of strategies, right? J-Dub is the primary defender when the Spurs are in the half court, hoping that Wembanyama receives the ball in a disadvantageous position on the court. But they don't do this for any other team besides the Spurs and the Nuggets. Otherwise, they are blasting through all dribble handoffs. They fear no dribble penetrator, right? They are reaching there, grabbing. Lou Dort now is getting a reputation for being someone who's borderline dirty with how aggressive he is in attacking those screens and running into guys, especially the way he invades landing space. They're super aggressive because they don't feel threatened. And those 2 teams, the Spurs and the Nuggets, have shown a unique ability to expose Oklahoma, or to break through Oklahoma City's defensive armor and force them into a game plan that is different than the 28 or 27 other teams in the league. That's the difference between the 2 sides, in my humble opinion. But yes, the ball handling and creativity of the big 3 Spurs guards, and all of a sudden De'Aaron Fox is starting to play defense now, right? No more leaving Jaden Ivey in the corner that got him into trouble in Sacramento and got Mike Brown fired on that 4-point play. No more of those mistakes from a motivated De'Aaron Fox on a team. If you're San Antonio, I'm at the point now I'm not messing with any of this. I know Giannis is potentially available and out there, but if I'm OKC and I'm San Antonio, it's a no thank you from me. Let's see what else you guys got. Appreciate you hanging out and listening. Feel free to comment now that I'm scrolling again. Sorry, when I go on my little diatribes here, my little sermons, it's hard for me to read and respond at the same time, but I did want to give that the care because I did think about that, obviously. The Warriors fall off. The Warriors won last night. Did you guys know this is Anthony Davis's 13th groin injury of his career? 13th, the groin alone. Man, unfortunately, I do not like to, as much anymore at my old age, I do not like to be hyperbolic, especially with my sports takes. I like to think about it for a second, maybe deliver something that's unique without hyperbole. But I'm getting very close to declaring this the worst trade in North American sports history. It needed to result in a championship within the first 2 seasons to even justify it, because Anthony Davis fortifies that invincible front line for Dallas with Gafford and Lively and Washington. Who can run with that? Who can out-rebound that? It just has never been on the floor. Kyrie gets hurt. and now it's completely fallen apart. You got a guy who can't be on the floor, Max Christie, and a first round pick. That's the worst trade of in professional sports history. Yeah, we're getting close. If Anthony Davis went on to the if you went on to the trade block right now, what would you consider the market value for Anthony Davis? He just can't stay healthy. He's not. Is he seen as a positive asset that I'm the one trading first round picks for, or do you want to attach first round picks for us to take on that albatross of a contract and a guy that can only be out there 1/3 of the time? We're at the point now that AD is getting close to being perceived to be a negative asset despite his talent and efficiency when he does play. Oh, Helwick's going to watch the Guaranteed Rate Bowl instead of hanging out here. I don't blame you. Enjoy. The Mookie. Who was Mookie Betts traded for? The Red Sox get anything back for him? Anyone that was on the team now? Devers? There's a good question. Does Donovan Clingan dominate a Zubac-less unction? What does unction mean? Unction clips. Is that a Gen Z term? Let's see. Donovan Clingan. What's his rebounds tonight? 11.5? God damn. Yeah, well, maybe you're onto something. That's like Mitchell Robinson over under without Karl Anthony Towns. No, that's even worse. That's Karl Anthony Towns without Mitchell Robinson over under. Do they just send nobody else to the glass? Is Robert Williams III out? So many questions here. Alex Verdugo, and nobody. He's on nobody's team now. Yeah. Oh, I saw that, by the way. B. Stoney in the chat says, JJ Redick's been throwing his players under the bus. Can we discuss this for a second? I'm curious what the chat thinks. Because you like I, or I like you, probably saw the clip being resurfaced where he was going after Doc Rivers a couple of years ago for it's never your fault. It's always the player's fault. And then last night, after the Lakers get embarrassed by the Houston Rockets, JJ Redick declares, I will not sit through 53 more games like this. I can't do it. Saturday's practice is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be tough. The film session is going to be uncomfortable. And he continuously responded by saying there are players who consistently do not bring it or retain the coach's instruction and direction consistently. And there are guys that it's been addressed and they keep doing it and it's pissing him off. That's how I interpreted his post-game press conference words, which I think the fans are starting to say, well, it's all the players' fault and it's none of your fault, right, JJ? Isn't that what you said about Doc? And now you see what it's like. Is it hypocritical by JJ Redick to say that? I don't think he was trying to shed blame. And there are times when he said, I messed up certain instances, or I was wrong in my rotation. Oh, I remember what it was. He admitted fault when he was asked during the Suns-Lakers game why LeBron was allowed to go to the free throw line and shoot the technical free throw instead of you overruling him, saying, because LeBron's been terrible from the free throw line. Why didn't you step up and say something? Hey, Luka, hey, anybody else besides LeBron, go take that free throw. And he said he was thinking about the rotations. He was looking at the bench. He wasn't paying attention. And of course, that's going to be on him. So when I hear him say this one particular, like the players are not listening, there's certain members of the roster who are just like consistently tuning us out. I think that is more healthy dialogue between the two sides And it's not just completely one-sided where he can just always keeps throwing the players under the bus. He's taken plenty of fault, but you didn't see that in the viral clip. You just saw what he said about Doc Rivers, in a short little snippet. But no matter what he says, he's not going to get the Lakers to defend any better. Their starting five last night: Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, DeAndre Ayton. Name me one positive defender. Oh, Jordan Poole is good to go today. Jordan Poole back in the lineup for the Pelicans. Tell me one of those defenders that's a net positive that you feel can win their defensive assignment matchup. Not a single one of them, right? The individuals that make up a team, they stink. The team of individuals that have chemistry, right? That facet of looking at a defense, they stink too. And their problem is they have defenders on the bench. Jared Vanderbilt is turning into one of the most important rotation players because now he's making his threes. He's actually making his threes. He's being left wide open because no one's scared of Jared Vanderbilt, and he's been punishing defenses. So you have Jared Vanderbilt, who's a plus net positive defender. Marcus Smart, Gabe Vincent, and Jake LaRavia. I would consider those four net positive defenders. How are they getting on the floor when Luka, LeBron, and Reeves occupy 60% of the starting and closing rotations? You're not benching Luka unless it's an offense-defense switch with 3 seconds left on the game clock. That's never happening. So this team is just going to continuously be terrible at defense. DeAndre Ayton looks like Bambi on ice guarding high ball screens outside the three-point arc. He doesn't have the foot speed to be able to recover. He's going into drop coverage a ton. Austin Reeves had to leave last night's game with a calf injury. Luka is a notoriously bad defender. LeBron's 41. He doesn't want to be out there having to chase down, block everything. Again, I ask you, where is you're going to find some defense with this Lakers team? That is why they are a significant tier below OKC and Denver, let alone Houston, Minnesota, so on and so forth. They're like in the Phoenix tier right now. And they're 19-10, 9 games over 500. Tyler in the chat, what's happening? Tyler says, are we as a society not going to be talking about Kel'el Ware's performance? Oh, what he's done the past week, by the way. You're speaking to, I tried to trademark the term Wembanyama because he's got the size, the length, the wingspan, and the game to replicate what has made Wemby the future face of basketball. All of a sudden, Kel'el Ware has been permitted and found the ability to shoot threes. He's knocking down a bunch of them. We're talking 25, 15 type of performances. He's the biggest guy on the floor with the longest wingspan at pretty much any time when Victor's not out there. He is by far the most promising prospect on Miami. No Hero, no Adebayo. Like, I know those are mainstays and big names within the organization, but that team should be doing everything to prioritize Kel'el Ware's development. He is equipped with genetics that only one, maybe two other people, Giannis, this is Giannis, Wemby, Kel'el Ware, and I mean, I can put Mitchell Robinson in there, but he's just such a solo type of player. He never touches the ball. He never scores, right? But those three are your type of body frame unicorns that also have the talent to be on the ball with high usage percentages. Haji says the game definitely feels like the players are underperforming. Are you referencing the Lakers there? Wyatt says Jamal Murray has to be an all-star this season. 9 threes overshadowed by Jokic. This is always the case with Jamal. How many point guards specifically, would you want on your team down by 1 with 30 seconds or left remaining? Can we take a minute here to name them in the chat? Because this is clutch time. I want to. How many guys do you trust to get a bucket and have an extensive experience, a track record of proof to win these games in those spots? Jamal Murray is in my top 5 even before I start thinking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Okay? So Shai, Jamal Murray, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson, Maxey, Trae Young. Am I taking Trae Young before Jamal Murray for a clutch shot with the game on the line? I don't know. It's close. Steph, obviously. Okay, so let's do this. Are there 5 that I would take before Jamal Murray? I would take Steph, SGA, for sure. Brunson, yes, but it's close. And again, just this one particular play, down by 1, 10 seconds left. I think that's the list with Cade and Maxey as the main. You could make the case for any of those 3. So I've got Jamal Murray, Steph, Shai, Brunson as the 3 obvious ones. Yes, Kel'el Ware's defense it's not even a box score thing. You watch Heat games, and he has the type of presence. When Rudy Gobert was winning all of those Defensive Player of the Years in Utah, the Jazz social media team was tracking Gobert scares, where someone would be wide open for a layup, and they just keep dribbling past the basket because they feel the presence of Rudy Gobert behind him, and they don't feel like they're going to be able to get an open look. Kel'el Ware is in that category with Mitchell Robinson, what was once Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama, I guess Chet Holmgren as well, and Kel'el Ware is now being felt by dribble penetrators for as far as the eye can see. Put Ant on. Yeah, Ant's not. We can't do Ant because then we get into the conversation of shooting guards. I understand he's on the ball a lot, but I just wanted to hear point guards specifically. And I've got Jamal Murray like 3rd or 4th in my pecking order of guys that if my life was on the line and the only way I survive is that dude getting a bucket and winning the game, that's the order I'm going to. Or getting to the free throw line still counts too, which obviously helps Brunson. But that's my personal order. Steph, Shai, Jamal Murray, Brunson, and then either Cade or Maxey is the top 5 picks. If you want cinema, Westbrook. There's a reason why we say you live by Westbrook, you die by Westbrook. Because he can have a night in Sacramento the other night where he just goes crazy in the 4th quarter, showing off those MVP days. And then he does some stupid shit like at the end of the Minnesota Timberwolves game where he fouls someone for like no reason. And he just chucks and chucks and chucks. He's never going to stop being Westbrook. As long as he's in the NBA, he will never change the way that he plays. That's what cost Carmelo Anthony his job as an NBA player for a full season. Was no one wanted bully ball Melo anymore. Father Time had caught up to you. If you're willing to be Olympic Melo, which is a lot of catch and shoot from outside the 3-point arc, we'll find a place for you like Portland did. Find a place for you like the Lakers did. But we don't want the high usage down in the block, going to work in the mid-range anymore because you don't have it like that anymore. Oh, good point. Tim in the chat says Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew, is making a name for himself in that department. Yeah, I don't think he's as feared when it comes to going for layups. No one's passing him up because Isaiah Stewart is behind them, but because he's so physical, because he carries a reputation for seeking out and enjoying altercations, I can understand. And by the way, Isaiah Stewart is always towards the top of rim protection percentage by defenders in the NBA regularly. He was, I think, the top for the second half of the season last year. That dude is fearless. He could play for me any day. Any day. I love those guys, man. Sign me up for Draymond. Sign me up for Bruce Bowen. Sign me up for Dennis Rodman. Sign me up for Isaiah Stewart. You have to have at least one of those guys on your team if you want to be considered a serious championship contender. Jalen Duren, too. Yeah, Pistons are. You guys go look at the standings. I put out my leaders in the clubhouse today, and everyone was pitching Mitch Johnson to be coach of the year. Do y'all understand the Detroit Pistons are like one, maybe 2 games behind the OKC Thunder right now for best record in the league? And OKC was on pace to break the Warriors' historic mark. The Pistons just are a freight train this regular season. Those leaders in the clubhouse always get people mad. Always. See if I can find a way to load it. I'll share it with you now. Have you guys break it down yourselves. Oh, here it is. Oh, I put it on the screen. I just don't want you guys to see all my burner account info. One of my many burners. Most of them are secrets. But anyway, I can just verbally tell you what it is. I have Jokic MVP. I had Chet Defensive Player of the Year. That one caught a lot of flack because of what San Antonio has done to them recently. Chet Holmgren is the foundation, the cornerstone of one of, if not the best defenses of all time. Like, he has to be the leader in the clubhouse for week 1. It's not just what happened this previous week. It's the season in totality. These awards, right? Everyone was so mad all last year you had Cade as most improved player because he was. I will not apologize for that. The retort from the fans was, no number 1 pick should ever win most improved, as if number 1 picks are always a guarantee to be hits. Like, Cade was so much better last year than he was the previous year. I thought, though, his decision making, the way that he was able to create and get guys open around him, his decision making when it comes to deferring to his teammates, like, he was better. He was better, and he was out of the lineup. Oh, quick side note, by the way, we have a lineup alert involving the Memphis Grizzlies that Ja Morant and Cedric Coward are going to be on minutes restrictions tonight. So if you are in ProfitX and you're waiting on some big info to drop, now is your time. There's going to be anticipation, obviously, that there's a minutes restriction always when they're coming back, but Ja Morant, 17.5, Cedric Coward, 11.5. I wouldn't hate it if you were looking at some of these unders, especially in the rebounding category. 3.5 for Ja, 6.5 for Coward. Those two are susceptible to bets for me. These two right here on your screen. If you're looking for something to top off your parlay with now that we have 5 minutes left until I think rosters close. Let me keep going here because, sorry, I got to catch up on your guys' comments. I don't want to miss any. Haji says, something else that was on my mind is I hate when I hear the East is wide open. It's really not. Yeah, I mean, it's top heavy, right? Those teams at the bottom of the East have no chance. Yeah, the East is not wide open. It's wide open for like 3 teams. B Stone in the chat says, didn't Cleveland start 27-4 last year? That's better than OKC's current record. Well, that's what San Antonio has done. Seth says, curious how Nickeil Alexander-Walker is considered for six-man currently while he's starting 24 of 29 games. Do you expect him to move to the bench? I do, yes. As long as Trae Young is back in that lineup, we'll see a lot more of Nah. Joel Embiid is a go tonight. That's a little bit of a surprise, considering how much on stilts he was his previous game. Injury management was the reason there. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a nationally televised game. So Joel Embiid better play or better really be hurt. Otherwise, they're going to get fined. But yes, by the time we get to Leaders in the Clubhouse, 3-4 weeks from now, I anticipate Nickeil Alexander-Walker having enough games off the bench to qualify for that award. All you need is one more game off the bench than you started to be eligible for six-man. But yeah, I'm not getting off my Cade. People were yelling at me for weeks and weeks about Cade. You can't have Cade on there, man. Just because you go number one should not disqualify you from awards, nor is it a guarantee that those players actually turn out to be great anyway. It's someone's assessment, a collective assessment of scouts that go out there and slap these teenagers with 5-star All-American recognition. And then they are perceived from high school through college like that's going to be the number one pick. It's just an echo chamber, man. Eventually they have to go out there and play ball at the professional level. And a number 3 pick could be noticeably better than a number 1 pick. To me, it's very rare to have a Victor Wembanyama level talent appear. That was supposed to be the case with Zion, with LeBron. There's only so many of those. For every one of those that you can name, there's an Anthony Bennett. There's a Michael Olowokandi. There's a, with all due respect, Risa Shea. Yeah. I see you guys continuing to discuss Alexander Walker in the chat. By the time we get to the end of the season, I would anticipate him having more games off the bench. Now, if Trae Young gets hurt again, then I'll change. I'm allowed to change my mind. That's why we do Leaders in the Clubhouse every Friday. If there becomes a point where Alexander Walker is starting too much, he will be removed from the board and we'll move in someone that's more someone that has a better chance of, or I believe to be the leader in the clubhouse to win that award. Oh, that's kind of what I was thinking about. Stoney says, oh, you say a 3 better than a 1? Yes. Jason Tatum, Markelle Fultz. There's another example. I don't like that number 1 picks are just crowned instantly, and they should get all the shoe deals. They should be excluded from most improved player because the expectation was there. Man, Cade was not that good when this team was historically bad. He was hurt for most of it, but I thought his talent level was not the same that it was last year. And that's why I have Jalen Johnson again as a most improved player. He was most improved last year if he doesn't get hurt. He's most improved again. That's the leap that he's took. And just because guys are already good should not disqualify them. Most improved player to me should be defined by the difficulty of the terrain traversed, not the distance of terrain traversed. Distance would be a Ryan Rollins, who was completely irrelevant for just not even in rotations, right? Then he gets his opportunity this year. And now he's a mainstay in the rotation, especially without Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has gone from not even in a rotation to filling up the box scores, right? So that's an obvious candidate for most improved because of that increased opportunity. But what the precedent of the award has shown us is the voters prefer difficulty of terrain. So when you finally travel all that distance across the plains, right, and you reach the mountains and it's time to go over the Rockies, going over mountains, it puts a lot more wear and tear and torque on that proverbial engine than just someone who goes from 0 minutes to 20 and is filling it up because they are a role player on a team that has a star that's creating for them. Any thoughts about Boston's second half of the season? Do you think they'll improve or plummet? Well, in this Eastern Conference, I would anticipate them hovering around the 4 or 5 seed for a majority of the season. I don't know. Like once Philly kind of puts it together, maybe they'll come up to the 3. Orlando be hovering around the 4 and the 5. Boston the 4 and the 5. Atlanta, ugh. Just there's so many like Raptors and Heat and Hawks and Bulls in the Eastern Conference. Man, it is so subpar. Shay said something happened to Fultz because he was clearly better than Tatum as a freshman. I don't know if I agree with that, but something did happen to Fultz. I agree with the first half of your assessment. Fultz got hurt. Fultz hurt his shoulder. And then with the pressure of the number 1 pick and the fans booing him and he's not shooting threes or making free throws, that all got into the kid's head. He was definitely hurt for a while. But Jason Tatum was, man, I saw that guy in person at Cameron Indoor. That was the one time I've been to a Carolina Duke game at Duke was to watch Tatum run over my team. I'm like, this guy should not be allowed to play college basketball. He was that much better of a talent than anyone else on the floor. MCC says, I still wish Kobe would have won MIP a few years ago. He sure gets he gets better every year, man. Because he was a true point guard at Carolina, point guard U. Then he turned into catch and shoot guy in the NBA. And now he's kind of all-purpose guard in Chicago. Oh, Embiid and Wiggins is another example of a 3 and a 1. I guess with Jordan, it's what Jordan is. Hakeem was 1. What's his name? Thorpe went 2. Jordan 3. Is that how that draft went? Tim's asking about my top 5 teams to watch this year. Pistons, in no particular order. Pistons, Knicks, Thunder, Spurs, Nuggets. That was easy. If you're looking for a fun little dark horse league pass team, I would go with... Well, I like watching the Pelicans because Antonio's on the broadcast. And I like Derek Queen. I'll go with the Pelicans. If you're looking for a bad team that's fun to watch on League Pass, the Pelicans are my answer. Oh, Luka and Ayton. That's a great one. Okay. Did I just speak this show topic create this out of thin air? That there's so many examples of a number 3 pick always being what should have been the true number 1. Ayton was done because he went to Arizona. Phoenix needed a big man who was for fit. He went first. Sacramento is Sacramento. They always they always mess up. They go with Bagley and then Luka. Well, my friends, we have about a minute until tip-off. Do you guys have any final questions? Simmons and Brown. Jalen went 3rd. Man, I hated that pick that night, too. I thought Jalen Brown was going to be terrible. I would have definitely whiffed on that one, for sure. Now, drafting is... Like, if we all knew Nikola Jokic was going to be this great, he wouldn't have been drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. Everyone is wrong about something. But I did not think Jaylen Brown was going to be very good. And he ended up being a finals MVP. So what do I know, right? Well, Wiseman was drafted because of fit. They desperately needed a big man, put him into the Warriors culture, have him slowly integrated, and hope that he turns into what I think they had ambition for James Wiseman to be what either Quentin Post has become, being able to stretch the floor, or even honestly like a Trace Jackson Davis and just a serviceable big man that can clear out defensive possessions. And he proved to be neither. Now, this is my favorite butterfly effect prompt that is possible in the NBA. Because if you go back in time, Warriors fans are like, we should have drafted LaMelo, we should have had LaMelo, blah, blah, blah. No. If you drafted LaMelo Ball, that's a high usage player that would have siphoned usage and shot attempts from Jordan Poole as well as Steph Curry. And you would not have won the 2022 NBA Finals with LaMelo Ball on that team. That, by not having a legitimate draft pick that year, it forced Steph Curry to be the greatest version of himself in what is probably one of his best seasons. I don't want to say the because of the 2015 or the unanimous MVP season. But they do not win the championship if LaMelo Ball is out there doing LaMelo Ball things. And the LaMelo Ball things are not all bad, but they are high in usage. New compliment in the chat. Tell someone, you know what? You're my number 3. You should have gone number 1, and you're going to end up being better than number 1, and they overlooked you. But I believed with the 3rd pick. That's a good pickup line to a guy or girl that knows ball. Wiseman was unfortunately just completely hypothetical. Yeah. I thought Wiseman, watching him at Summer League, I thought he was going to run over the league. I thought he was going to run over everybody. Kevin Knox was up. I thought Kevin Knox could be the next Kevin Durant. He moved like KD, man. Summer League has a way of, what's the proper term? I don't want to say poisoning your mind. It just creates this facade of potential that never comes to fruition unless it's someone comes out of nowhere. Because I thought Zaire Smith was going to be the next best thing in the NBA. He was killing Summer League all those years. So many big names, man. And then there's a Tyler Johnson who ends up being the crowning achievement of Summer League success. The crowning example, I should say. On that note, people, we're running a little overtime, coming up on an hour on this show. It is Friday, which means I will be back with you on Monday, perhaps in the same exact spot. But let's go win some money tonight. Looking towards the unders and rebounds for Ja Morant and Cedric Coward, as well as Zion Williamson's over. I feel as unsafe taking a Zion over as I do with Anthony Davis. Got to rethink my whole dating life right now. We can do a dating episode if you guys need some help. You're talking to the expert of of Hinge and Bumble. I've been around. It's not a compliment either. All right, all 9,000 of you who watched today, I appreciate you as always. ProfitX, thank you for sponsoring this stream. Beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada behind me. Thank you for being such a gracious host. And I'm going to go watch some basketball. Come back Monday with some questions. We'll react to everything we saw. Tyler Kolek. What did we not get to today? Tyler Kolek. We talked about Anthony Davis's injuries. We talked about the Timberwolves versus Nuggets game. We got through most of it. GG's in the chat, people. CBC, we haven't had a chase in a while. And for those of you watching, the reason why we haven't had a chase in a while is because there's an atmospheric river in Los Angeles right now that's just dumping rain. Dumping rain. The result of which is helicopters cannot go into the air because it's unsafe. So we're not going to have a chase for quite a while. That's the reason why. But I'm around in case it does happen. Sam asks, are the Blazers screwing up Scoot's development? He's got to get healthy first. GG's in the chat, people. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out today. If you wouldn't mind just retweeting this after you're done or liking the stream, that all helps out like always. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Adios.